Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, July 22nd, 2019. Happy Monday, everyone. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. If you notice right here, you'll see if I draw a line right across these highs, that is the May 1st high before we sold off and created that clear pivot. Price bounced back and hit it again here. Another pullback into the Pima trigger zone and went through it, and then right here it's been holding above that line ever since throughout the month of July, forming a little box right above that zone. Again, as I've mentioned before, this market has been very resilient, very bullish. It's been bouncing out of the trigger zone very nicely. This last time it attempted to but failed, and now we're sitting with a box right above the top of this key range. And again, that right there is something to keep an eye on, because if there's a failure to hold that level, this line of 29.61 quarter, if there's a failure to hold that level, that's when we rotate back to the midpoint of that line, which is about 28.80, and a shot to go across the range into the lows of 2800. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. If price cannot hold this level, 29.60, we start to rotate back down, and it could be a quick move back down. But overall, that's the zone to watch. This is exactly what we talked about last fall. Again, very similar pattern here, where price had formed a very sharp pivot high, like this one here, rotated back down. Eventually, price got back to that level and formed a box and was not able to hold, and that's what triggered selling pressure. We're now here again, another box, and again, if there's a failure to hold that zone, it triggers some degree of selling pressure. Maybe not as extreme as this. Maybe it's just a little bit back toward the recent lows, but it could also intensify and take out these recent lows as this thing continues to form an expanding range. So just something to keep in mind here. As of right now, you're seeing a little bit of a bounce back after Friday's late day selling pressure. We're now still holding below the midpoint of Friday's range. So again, despite the early or pre-market strength we've seen here, we could begin to see selling pressure that leads to some sort of weakness through 29.60. So continue to watch 29.60 as a very important key level. The NQ, very similar price action here. You can see price very bullish in June to recover after the May sell-off, and now we're holding right here at these highs. Another box is formed. We're watching 7,800 as a key level. These lows here would be about 77.40. A break of that zone would open up a rotation back down. Again, this could take it right back to 7,400 as a very easy midpoint key target, or this could rotate across the way into 69 to 7K. So we'll see how that plays out. But overall, this market remains strong, remains bullish, but if there's a break there, that's where things start to fall off. Failed high on Friday led to selling pressure, especially late in the day. Right now we're seeing overnight strength, but we're not past the midpoint of Friday's session, which suggests that we could see weakness at some point. So again, just keep an eye on this level right here for potential selling pressure down the road. If we take a look at crude oil, you'll see right here crude oil had a pretty significant sell-off here last week. We had a failed high here that triggered selling pressure throughout the week. Friday was an inside day, and now we're seeing another potential failed high developing. Price pushed above Friday's high and is now back below that high and developing a tail there. You see the 8-period average has dropped here and prices are below that zone. So this failed high right here could trigger more selling pressure. The 55s continue to hold very nicely after the break back above that zone. It's held on a couple of tests over the last few days. But again, anytime you have a failed high in a downtrend, it can trigger another swift move down. So continue to watch 55s. That's the level that's very important here. Very important CLVN in the charts. And again, if price can hold that zone, perhaps we rally back towards 60 to 62 in this developing, expanding wedge. Otherwise, failure to hold 55s could rotate this thing right back down to 50 bucks, the recent lows. Lastly, let's take a look here at gold futures. You'll see with gold, we've had a very, very bullish rally here in June. That suggested that we could see range-bound trading activity in July, and so far we've seen much of that play out. We did have a pretty bullish rally here over the last couple of days that ended with a failed high and a sell-off on Friday. However, price continues to hold above that 8-period average. It continues to show strength out of that PIMA trigger zone. So even if we do pull back somewhat, again, we're holding above this LVN here, which is very, very significant. Even if this thing were to sell off into that zone, that could be a big time area to be long, not just on a swing basis, but perhaps on a longer term position basis as this thing attempts to work its way toward 1500 and above it. So right now, any failure to hold, say, the 1420 zone could rotate this thing back down a little bit, back toward 1400 perhaps, but this thing has been very bullish and likely will continue to see strength until proven otherwise. Alright, that's it for now. We'll see how this develops heading into the new week of trading. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.